And we are live.
Great. So today is February 17th, 2021, and it is 5:13, and I am calling to order the Baldwin Park special virtual meeting. City Clerk, can you please do a roll call?
Yes, hi. Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Emmanuel Estrada,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Alejandra Avila,
Here.
Councilmember Daniel Damian,
Here.
Councilmember Monica Garcia,
Here.
and Councilmember Paul Hernandez.
And I will make a motion to excuse Councilmember Hernandez. I believe he is running a little bit late. Can I get a second?
Second.
Any objections? No? Great. So at this moment, I believe we move on to public communications. Chief Deputy City Clerk, is there anybody looking to speak?
No, Mayor, we don't have any comments.
Great. So at this moment, I close public communications, and I believe we have a open study session. And I believe the first one is with Eureka regarding the Baldwin Park and Cohort Cities Homeless Service Overview.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Okay. We are here tonight, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, to provide you and the residents of Baldwin Park a homeless services overview that incorporates both our Baldwin Park individual city efforts as well as the SGV cohort regional efforts with our partnership collaborative effort with the cities of El Monte and South El Monte. Next slide, please. So we wanted to draw your attention to the array and the diverse set of leadership that we have established with this homeless cohort, both at the city level and across our partner cities. So we do have a robust leadership from all three cities, both council members and mayors, as well as the city managers that are heavily involved in our projects. We do serve as the lead administrator for this effort, and our project managers, both directors Manuel Carrillo and Ben Martinez, along with other members of our team, have been very instrumental to the development and implementation of all of these programs and services. And as a background, I wanted to draw your attention to the Measure H that really began our pilot program around combating homelessness. There was some funding allocations back in 2018 that really embarked our multi-jurisdictional approach to combat homelessness as a cohort and from a regional perspective. So these funds provided in the form of a planning grant back in 2018 allowed for all of our cities to identify what kind of organic and geographic strategies may overlay in our efforts to combat and accomplish these goals. So here you can see that there are a variety of different goals at the city level. Specifically, our community engaged in a very robust community engagement process that included members of our city leadership, of course, our city council, our business community, faith-based organizations, and what we like to call our unified school district, and what we like to call our 360 model, where we really went out to the community to engage the entire public and both the recipients and partners in these efforts. And the city of Baldwin Park, along with our partner cities, came up with these goals. Our tri-city efforts really rely on the bottom three goals, where we just organically crossed interest in coordinating and collaborating to participate in local efforts to address homelessness. We also wanted to expand access to workforce development programs and increase employment, as well as overall to increase the number of affordable, supportive housing across our three cities. And Baldwin Park specifically had another array of individual tasks. And this really draws the time frame that it took the cohort to establish all of the different funding opportunities. So this strategic timeline really looks at where we started and where we are now in 2021, drawing your attention to the great advocacy and just being thankful to you and your leadership for your continued advocacy to ensure that our members of our community that are most in need receive these very much needed support and services. So we have been part of the approval process from the very beginning. The City of Baldwin Park has been very involved from the beginning of Measure H. And in 2018, if you recall, there was a challenge around how much of the efforts and the funds were to be released. And much of 2018 and 19 was dedicated to ensure that what we had applied for in our original grant ask was awarded, and we are thankful to our county partners for allowing the cohort as well as the Baldwin Park to fully fund our homeless plans through this effort. So if you think of our funding priorities, one of them is around the ability for us to create new housing. And the second priority is for those kind of wraparound support services. So you could see here in 2018 that initially we had just been awarded $85,000 between all three cities and $113,000 around the strategy area 2. Well, after a long battle and like I said, advocacy from all groups, we were able to secure almost $1.7 million in services and programs. And last year in 2018, really COVID exacerbated the amount of services and programs that are needed in this very much needed community. And our team are both at the city level and our cohort really spent the majority of 2020 in a COVID environment, ensuring that all of these services didn't stop. We were able to allocate most of the contract services for these programs. So now in 2021, you can see that all of these different services have been prioritized and are now well into the implementation efforts. So here we see that there's an array of different funding sources that can continue to aid us in our ability to help both provide the services and the programs for our homeless individuals. So Union Station Homeless Services will be our lead service provider to ensure that we have a very expert set of staff handling and managing the day-to-day operations of our homeless services and programs. So this is one of our most impactful and our most comprehensive contract that we have with the lead service provider actually in spot 3 that will address these areas in blue, which is an access center across all 3 cities. So the City of Baldwin Parks will specifically be located at the Terry G. Muse Family Service Center in El Monte and in South El Monte. We also have direct access to housing navigation, which none of these services were ever present in the past. We also have a very healthy motel voucher program that serves as interim housing for those families that may need immediate attention. As well as we have developed a rapid rehousing program. And lastly, a prevention diversion programs. So through this contract focus area, you can see that our cohort was really able to address a lot of the different needs, such as basic needs, outreach, crisis, bridge housing, permanent supportive housing, but there are still under the minimally or under-resourced category. You see that our cohort has really targeted a lot of those things that we had not had in the past. So we are very thankful to our Union Station partnership to ensure that these services get rendered. This here is a model of how the continuum of care through the CES will work. Like I mentioned before, now the city has at the local level an opportunity to directly impact, to directly provide services and programs to our homeless individuals. So this here just kind of draws a model of how it works with the regional coordination efforts. First of all, it would be through outreach, and then they go into a series of different programs, whether that be prevention and diversion, if we can get them successfully connected with members of their family or in a comfortable living situation. Then if we are not able to do that, we have all of these different programs that we can, that are now funded so that they can go into any of these housing navigation and cage management support services. And we have actual access now. Of course, because we are currently still undergoing and implementing these services under a COVID environment, we wanted to ensure that what the COVID-19 implications would be. So the current phase of it, we will not have a physical location, or I mean, the physical location is there, but we're operating remotely and literally in the streets of Baldwin Park, El Monte, and South El Monte. So the phase one approach, because we are still in a purple tier, we will have no physical access to the centers. However, there is remote access or by appointment only, and members of our staff are ready to assist and dispatch all of the different services and programs according with just simply connecting with us and making those appointments. And we have already been able to successfully help a few individuals in our community. The motel voucher and the prevention and diversion will continue during a COVID environment. And for phase two, after we see some reopening guidelines by the county and the health department, we will then move into an area where we will have a physical space and a location where there will be walk-in services. So we will actually have access, still erring on the side of precaution. We will continue to do it by an appointment only. And this is really great because our field-based housing navigators, they are actually out in the streets. So making those appointments will not be a challenge. That is something that we have already discussed internally and will continue to provide these services. Also, the locations will have office staff members from both the city and Union Station. So at any given point, anybody can walk into our doors and either receive the different services through our city partners or via our Union Station liaisons. Next up, I want to ensure that these are the additional services that are also coming down the pipeline. So under priority area 1, specific to Measure H, we have additional planning consultants and permanent housing capital improvement projects, as well as additional development consultants that will be working with us to increase the supply of interim supportive housing for people experiencing homelessness. And we also, under priority area 2, which you recall is kind of more the service area, we have an employment services with Goodwill coming down the pipeline that you have already approved, and the shower program, which we hope to launch in spring of 2021. And thank you all for your leadership in identifying a location and a site for this effort. So you shall see that in the spring of 2021. We also have access point support, where we will, all of this great information that you're learning about today, a way that we can market that and make that information available to everyone, whether there's a technology gap or old traditional models of flyers and all of the different brochures that we will make available. In terms of Baldwin Park Measure H, so all of the things that you heard were part of our cohort efforts. Baldwin Park was one of the unique cities that also was awarded an individual city homeless plan grant. So we will be looking into ADU ordinance study, where we can look at like different incentive programs, hotel motel conversions that are becoming extremely popular, especially with additional rounds of the home key project coming down the pipeline. Some consultant work around land use and getting very specific about like some GIS and potential lands that could be GIS mapping for those potential pieces of land that can hopefully be converted into interim or permanent supportive housing. And we also have a scatter site housing model a study that will look at if we don't have those huge buildings in our city where, some cities experience some challenges about being built out, how can we focus on perhaps families or domestic violence or college students, where a scatter site housing model may also be an option for a city like ours. Next slide. In addition to that, those were all just Measure H efforts. The California State Senate, along with LA County's innovation funds that are being administered through the SGVCOG support services, have allowed us to engage in other funding sources that have also provided us an opportunity to create some innovations around different programs and services. So at the cohort level, at the state level, we were the State Senate was able to secure over $5.6 million to fully fund our homeless plan. So we're really grateful for that. Specifically, 3.3 of that was to provide the entire support to close the gap of the homeless plans across all of the San Gabriel Valley cities. And we also, at the cohort level specifically, these are the list of different programs that we're targeting. So prevention, diversion, emergency housing and response with rapid rehousing programs. There's also a regional homeless services coordination program that we will be a part of along with other cities. And, we want to ensure that, we want to make sure that you are aware that the Baldwin Park leadership team had a really big role in the selection of the RFP and the vendor. And we have been a big partner in those efforts, also to help other cities across the region under the leadership of SGVCOG. Under the Regional Housing Trust Fund, which we are all a member of, both at Baldwin Park, El Monte, and South El Monte, we also received additional funds in the amount of $1 million to support those efforts, as well as our individual, our cohort plans also provided about $300,000 for capital improvement projects and innovation funds. So all of this will benefit our member cities. A quick update on Project Home Key. We also want to share that at the cohort level, the city of El Monte is just closed escrow on 2 hotels located on Valley Boulevard, which will provide 133 single units. Those should be coming down the pipeline in about July of 2022, in which they will be able to serve families. But currently, they are also able to serve an individual one with the units of some conversions to be made. You may also know that the county-led efforts around Project Home Key have identified the Motel 6 location in Baldwin Park on Garvey Avenue, but they have experienced some, they will need to undergo a series of different remodels to ensure that it becomes a successful Project Home Key site, which could take about approximately 2 years. So currently the county will continue to operate as a room key site. But this is all great news for both Baldwin Park and our cohort, because it is potential locations where we can house our residents. I briefly discussed this, Mark, so we can go into just drawing once again your attention to the micro homeless efforts around the individual efforts with Baldwin Park. Next slide, please. Under the State Senate and SGV cohort, SGVCOG, we have also engaged in another series of different programs. So the homeless housing navigation services are now underway, and that allows for about $24,000 in additional vouchers that can be used to place clients into housing. And this, on the right-hand side, you see our our program model that our facilities and our staff members have undergone a robust training with both the SGVCOG and LASA to ensure that we are diverting these services after a problem-solving conversation has been administered. So we also have 2 additional pockets of funding: emergency housing response for rapid prevention and diversion, as well as more kind of problem-solving support services. So this could be anything from perhaps help with a bill or a DMV service. So we have an array of different services available to them. We couldn't forget about our youth and our next generations. So under some innovation strategies, we partnered with the Green Pathway Career Programs, which has allocated about $200,000 for vocational certifications to students in that are transitional age youth. And this is a partnership with other cities. This includes the city of Baldwin Park, Duarte, Irwindale, Laverne, and West Covina. And we are really excited to also be part of this exciting project that will hopefully close the gap of disparities with youth of color entering into energy efficient industries. This here, I just want to draw your attention at the amount of programs that the city of Baldwin Park is enrolled in. So SGVCOG released a report, and we are actually one of the few cities that has about 7 different programs that are currently participating. We are part of the Regional Housing Trust, Homeless Plan Implementations, Shared Housing, Prevention and Diversion, Green Pathways, Landlord Outreach, and a hygiene program. So we're really proud of all of these different efforts. And here's our staff. Just want to say thank you to them for always being able to provide the services to our community. I do want to introduce members, our partners from SGVCOG. We have Brielle Acevedo, Regional Housing Trust Administrator, that will be able to answer. I will provide a brief update on the Tiny Home Emergency Shelter Program. And Brian McCullum, the Regional Housing Coordinator, who will also be on standby in terms of the SGVCOG white paper on LAHSA reform. So as you guys may know, we do have sometimes a challenging existing structure around the LAHSA and the COC and how those programs are administered in the San Gabriel Valley. So the white paper that you will see at the 7 p.m. Meeting tonight looks at exploring the different causes and the impacts of the systemic problems that exist during the current system. And a group of our leadership team, including members of our city of Baldwin Park, have identified a few comprehensive solutions. So the SGVCOG is committed to ensure that these practices can become a little bit more effective. And the white paper specifically identifies several opportunities to improve that. So that relationship could be improved through more collaboration with smaller cities, an improvement on the lack of funding that is locally based, as well as sometimes poor communication and lack of transparency. So to address these issues, the white paper has provided some potential solutions. And I do have, if you guys do have questions at the conclusion, we do have Brian, who is willing and has a lot more expertise on this subject matter. Next slide, please. This very exciting pilot program, which you will also have an opportunity to learn more about at our 7 p.m. meeting from Brielle Acevedo, is the SGVCOG-Emergency Non-Congregate Shelter, also known as the Tiny Homes Project. And this is a regional housing trust fund effort that will authorize to initiate a pilot program to support the construction of about 3 to 5 emergency shelter sites across the San Gabriel Valley. And I just want to let you know that there are some successful tiny home villages already in the city of Riverside and Redondo Beach. The city of Baldwin Park has demonstrated a potential site for this innovative effort. And this program, through the Regional Housing Trust Fund, will provide capital funding to install and basically operate the tiny home shelters and other necessary site infrastructures. The SGVCOG would work with interested cities to select appropriate facilities. So there has been ongoing discussions already to identify some sites, and we are looking to submit a non-committal letter of interest at tonight's meeting for February 17th. And as I mentioned, there will be, Brielle will also be joining us at our 7 p.m. meeting if questions arise specifically to this program. And this here is just an example of what that site can look like. Specifically to Baldwin Park, this is a location that has been identified as a project proposed layout. We do want to just note that this is not finalized, or this is just a preliminary design, and it could be adjusted or modified or completely changed. But there is a location that could potentially work, and our Public Works has already looked at the different kind of location amenities that would be needed. So this is probably one of the unique sites that will accommodate this type of project. In terms of overall our homeless services, just to close out, looking at next steps, we want to continue to provide as much information to our community as possible through our 300 community engagement outreach model. We do have members of our committee, both council members as well as administrative staff that serve on the SGVCOG monthly committee. We also have members on the Regional Housing Trust Fund. And we also host a bi-weekly SGV cohort meeting that we talk about all of these different services. So should you ever want more information or would like to join us, please let us know and we can make that available to you. In regards to city-specific outreach, cities have also included some virtual community workshops. So if that is something that you're interested in, please feel free to connect with us and we can explore those opportunities to kind of do town hall meetings and just kind of let our community know what is happening around homeless services. We are here tonight with our individual council study sessions, which will also be traveling to our other cities as well. And in terms of communication and branding, we are really excited to share that because of COVID and people not being able to come into our facilities, there is a huge push for digital and print marketing programs for all of these services. These are just kind of next steps, launching of a cohort website and all of these different kind of marketing strategies. But we also want to ensure that there is an opportunity to advocate and secure funding beyond 2021. So our current grant under Measure H will be completed in December of 2021, and some of the SGVCOG and California State Senates will go beyond the 2021 mark, but there is an opportunity already to start advocating for some of the securing additional services beyond 2022. And of course, one of the next immediate steps is to seek approval for the SGVCOG white paper on the loss of reform. And this concludes my portion of the presentation. If there's any questions or comments that you would like to bring up, we'd love to hear that.
Yeah, do any city council members or staff have any questions regarding Eureka's presentation?
Yes, Mayor.
Yeah, go ahead, Mayor Pro Tem.
You can hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. We can discuss the tiny homes right now, or do we want to wait to the regular meeting? Is this fine?
I was going to ask, is it better? I think Eureka said everybody will be on the next meeting as well, right?
Yes, Brielle actually has a presentation ready for you all if you want to hear more detailed information. This was just an overview of all homeless services programs, both at the cohort and individual level. But if there are, specific questions that might want to bring up, and then we can have some more robust answers for you at the 7 p.m., we can do that as well, if it's specific to the tiny home project.
I do have some questions specific to the tiny homes. I can address them now or at the regular meeting. I don't want to have to do it twice and then just take more time.
If Brielle has a presentation, maybe we can wait till the 7 o'clock meeting, and I think more people will be watching as well, so that way more people get the answer out, right?
I agree. Okay, we'll do it at the 7. I'll ask at the 7 o'clock meeting.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, go ahead, Councilmember Hernandez.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Again, thank you very much for your presentation, Enrico, and Mr. Carrillo and the rest of your staff that put the effort behind this presentation, but all the work that goes along with it. Just a few items. In regards to job training, can you share a little bit more about, the job training that we're doing? I saw the transitional age, youth age, which one, if you could explain to me what that age range is. But two, one of the other things, at least as a concern that I have is, once we have some of these folks, within our system, and I call it the housing homeless plan system. What other opportunities do we have while we have these folks with us that we can provide them additional resources, whether it's for training, vocational training, because there are federal grants that provide folks to get retrained in a different type of work, whether it's education also or whatever the case may be. I just want to make sure that we're not forgetting about those opportunities too.
Of course. To answer your first question, the transitional age youth is ages from 18 to 20. Sometimes different programs, it could be 16 to 24 or 18 to 24. And that specifically targets the age group that will be aging out of traditionally like a group home setting or that type of population. So that is specifically with the Greenway program. And we really wanted to target some innovative strategies about what kind of fields they enter, right? That are very well paid, that are very innovative, and that they could be part of not just entry-level workforce, but that they can attain a higher level of certificates, training, and education should they further pursue those careers. So that is the first question. The second one is that we have a very comprehensive service delivery model with Goodwill Employment Services. So that one is a partnership with the cohort cities, and it will specifically focus on outreach. It will also do orientation to whoever's seeking employment. They will provide navigation services, case management, support services, and employer engagement. So we will actually go out with this partnership, look at potential locations where they could be placed after they have successfully been trained, and they go through the different programs, but it is a very supportive process throughout. So that case management will be key. And also what's really important about this project is that there's also some subsidized work experience where if we identify members of our community to go through our program, there will be some immediate positions. But in terms of sustainability, we also want to outreach to different businesses and different organizations who will be there to provide more long-term employment. And hopefully that would get them, ensure that they are, that if they did enter a situation where they are experiencing homelessness, that they get the skills, the tools, and the resources they need that to hopefully be in a better position in a few months. There's also a job retention program that will also be guided through our Goodwill services. And if you, the Goodwill program was specifically selected because also they are a lead service provider in our area and across the county. So they will have access to other programs that can be administered through our local channel, which is the AJCC, where our economic development program already heavily works in collaboration with them. So those existing kind of navigation systems and leveraging of resources and staff members are already in place to ensure that this implementation process is as smooth and as effective as possible for this population.
Thank you. And I just have one other thing, and that's just something to note as you work with your colleagues. When it comes to the strategy and the marketing strategy, can you also, with your colleagues in the Tri-Cities, look at some sort of landing page that we can create that makes it very, very simple for residents, between us, El Monte, South El Monte, and whoever else in the San Gabriel Valley can visit, click on, and, get the appropriate resource that they need Because one of the things that some residents have, that I've spoken with, that I've spoken with, is they find it very difficult to find the information that they're looking, and only after they're done with their frustration will they contact me, and then of course I pass them along onto you, and then I know they get appropriate service. But there are several people that it's happened to in the past where they just can't seem to find the right information that they're looking for on our own website. So if we can just do a better job about that, and of course when we begin to launch these programs as a whole with our other cities, that we do that in a collective manner. So when we launch the social media or whatever type of marketing or information that we're sending out, that we're doing it, not only in English, Spanish, and the other languages that are appropriate within our communities, or the more popular ones. So that way it's, we're being very mindful of the folks that we have, and of course, leveraging the school districts. So with that, and then I'll hold my other comments for when we talk about the white paper later today. Thank you.
And thank you so much for that comment. And yes, that is primarily the complexity that is currently under homeless services, the opportunity for us at the local level to try to create more local strategies so that we can create better access to those. So thank you. And thank you for your leadership as well on influencing a lot of the regional efforts around GIS service mapping tools that we worked on, the grant that we worked on a few months ago that actually manifested into a regional program with our influence of the grant. The SGVCOG will be rolling out a regional effort in terms of marketing, and actually a GIS map that will locate both services and program providers in our area. So anybody can go in and, like a hot map tool, you will see the different locations where these services could be rendered. We will focus also on linguistics and cultural relevancy, because especially when we talk about like ADUs and incentives, we need to be culturally relevant to those, right? To things that our community really understands, and not the linguistics or the kind of a lingo that exists within the current homeless services. So thank you for that. And lastly, a really exciting piece will be our education model, where we hope to recruit different members of our community to serve as kind of promotores and promotoras that will continue on this information sharing process through an education delivery service model. So thank you.
Mayor.
Yes, Councilmember Garcia.
Thank you. Yuriko, thank you so much for all of your work. You have really become a subject matter expert for our city. And who knew when you first joined our city that you would step into this role and take such great leadership. But I just want to say thank you for, really leading this. And of course, Recreation and Community Services, Manny Carrillo, and, for providing the support and infrastructure for, creating that platform so that you can be such a great spokesperson for our city, an advocate on this issue, especially as we work with El Monte, South El Monte, the COG, and the Housing Trust, and and other partners. I did want to understand a little bit more, and you don't have to answer this tonight, but I did want to understand, of the monies that we've received, I'd like to understand how, like, the percentage of monies that are going into, let's say, the planning, consultants. And I know that right now is a time for us to plan for, kind of like create that strategic plan and bring this all together as we move forward. So I get the importance, but I also wanted to understand, how much we're investing in planning versus like the prevention that you talked about, when families might be on the fringe and they just need a little bit of assistance, versus the actual like intervention where, you have homeless on the street and you're trying to create the rapid rehousing or, get them sheltered. So I was just curious to know, because I do understand that right now we are going to be investing in that plan. And that's kind of a strategic planning process when it comes to homelessness, and it's really a new landscape, for us at the city level. So it's important. But I also wanted to know how much of that money is actually making it to, the people that need to be sheltered. So you don't have to answer that tonight, but I would like to understand that a little bit more. You can send me an email or, follow up with Shannon, and he can provide that information to us. The other question that I have is, what partners are working with us for outreach to individuals that are unsheltered in our community?
Thank you, Councilmember Monica Garcia. And thank you also for trusting in me and our partners and our team to ensure that these services get rendered with dignity and respect to our community. I will provide the updates, and it's actually a great way to create transparency around these funding, because there is, like you have seen tonight, a vast array of different funding options, and we do take pride in ensuring that all of these fundings are hitting directly into our streets. Our service provider in terms of outreach and direct access to our homeless individuals that are currently experiencing homelessness in the streets is Union Station Homeless Services. So they are the lead service provider across the Spot 3. And now we have some dedicated staff members that will specifically look at the population in our 3 cities through these efforts. So it is Union Station Homeless Services.
Okay. And is there any way for us to understand like what outreach has been done in our community, and then what services have been offered, and just to kind of understand, again, like that trickle down effect, right, of the funding, and making sure that it gets to those who are unsheltered. I just want to know, and it doesn't have to be, it's not urgent, but at some point I'm just curious to know how many, how many contacts, I guess, Union Station has made with individuals who are unsheltered in our community. And just kind of, again, an assessment of that. Like, are most people reluctant to receive services, or, do they just prefer, or is it like the sustainability as we plan for, that housing with wraparound services, that these would be candidates for that type of service, because it is chronic, the chronic type of homelessness. And so I just want to get an assessment at some point of, what the outreach has been. We have received some funding. And so I'd like to know what, if these individuals have accepted help and services, or if they're reluctant, just to get a better understanding of that. You know what I mean?
Of course, yes. And thank you for that suggestion. And there are, that is a challenge, I would say, that we experience as an entire county and region. And grants through the innovative process have allowed for that kind of metrics and those tracking tools, because that in homeless services, we're all about the service delivery and being out in the streets and reaching those and preventing homelessness from happening also. But it's also really great to ensure that we also keep track and record of all of these different interactions and services that we're providing. So we are really excited to be able to share that in the near future with you and other members of our council and overall to the community. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Yuriko. Yes, and I think it will help us tell the story of how we are not only planning and the policies that we're implementing and the programs, but also how it's benefiting that person that we see at Morgan Park, and it'll help us tell that story even to constituents in our community that will ask, like, what are you guys doing about the homeless that are fighting in front of my property, or, things like that. So I understand, and I'm excited about all the planning and the policies and the programs, but equally, and that's why I think I'm asking for the percentage equally, I want to be able to express to constituents, this is what we're actually doing to help that person that you see. And That's just, that has to be part of this.
Mhm.
So versus, just kind of getting too caught up on the higher level stuff and not really making it down to the ground level. So just a balanced approach and us being able to tell that story. So thank you for all that you do. I so appreciate you. And thank you for getting us that information, in time. And I know that it'll come in a way that's very thoughtful and well packaged. So thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Is there any other council members that have any questions or comments? If not, I think we can get most of our questions answered during the 7 o'clock meeting. That's correct, Eureka, right?
That is correct.
Great. So if not, then, before I move on to Chief Lopez and his presentation, I do want to say thank you, Rico. I know you do a lot of work, probably the biggest expert in the region, in the Valley, right? And, we're all thankful for you. And of course, Manny and the Parks and Recs team that I know are making big efforts, with the homeless and making sure that, people are able to be taken care of. So I'm grateful, and I'm sure the rest of the council is as well.
My pleasure. Thank you all.
All right. And then we have Chief Lopez.
Good evening, Mayor, Honorable Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to talk to you a little bit about crime. I really won't be able to get into a lot of specifics about it because we're still in the infancy of designing our crime statistics for the future. But I can tell you that, what I looked at for tonight's meeting is I looked at a comparison of the first week of February to the second week of February and looked at the crime, and as it stands, we're showing a 33% decrease in assaults. Commercial burglaries has remained at the same, which is 1 for the first week and 1 for the second week. Grand theft auto has dropped 28%. Thankfully, we have had no homicides year to date. Larceny, and this is where percentages kind of change, because larceny in the first week we had 1, second week we had 2, so that's a 200% increase, but it's only 1 crime. So the percentages are a little alarming, but it's only 1 crime, and I know 1 crime is 1 too many, but so you'll understand the process that we look at, or how I'm looking at crime. The other thing, as you go down the categories, we haven't had any residential burglaries. The same thing, 0. Robberies were minus 100%. So we had 1 in the first week, nothing in the second week. And vehicle burglaries, again, we had 2 in the first week and 0 in the second week. So we're still, in the infancy stages of getting our crime statistics put together and looking at different ways of looking at it. One of the things that was a concern about if there was any kind of gang crime, we have had some instances of gang crime, but the numbers are very low. And I can get into that. I'd rather discuss offline. I don't have any real concerns about the activity. It's rather minimal. One thing that has been noted is that there's been an increase in graffiti. And talking to our gang officers, they have some they have some information relative to individuals who may be responsible for that crime. I mean, even as we speak, earlier today, one of the commanders was out following up on some things that we're doing, and he happened to see an individual who was spray painting the sidewalk, and he had done about 179 square feet of damage to the sidewalk and surrounding area. And I don't hope they have the dollar amount for that, but he was arrested for that. And so we are very vigilant in making arrests when it's appropriate. So I'm comfortable with our approach at this point. Again, I'm trying to make sure that what I provide you in the future makes sense to you and makes sense to the community. So when they look at the graphs and they look at the information we're providing, it's informative and they understand how we're looking at crime. And that's kind of like a nutshell in what I'm looking at and how we're looking at that process. Are there any questions as a result, as it relates to the crime?
Chief, I have a question, Mayor.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Chief, when you talk about the tagging, and are we tracking that and how it correlates to the gang activity? I'm seeing like, the east side BP, north side BP, like being crossed out, and it's very, provoking. Like it just feels, when I've seen it and it's really large and like there's some taunting going on. You don't have to give any specifics because I'm sure that, you guys are doing intelligence around that, but are you guys seeing a pattern when it comes to this tagging and the gang activity? And are we monitoring that? Are we tracking it?
Yes, ma'am. Without getting into too many of the specifics, the gang officers are very much aware, and the graffiti tracker that they're using, they're able to discern some of the movement and some of the activity that's going on. They are doing some active investigations as we speak, and there may be a little bit of correlation to some of the the assaults that we're investigating as well. So it all ties in. Again, they're actually following up on several leads, in hopes that we will have some resolution to those crimes soon.
Okay, thank you. I guess what we, it's about tracking it, and
Correct.
hopefully it's, it'll simmer down more. But just, if you could keep us posted on that, because I think it's something that I've observed more recently. And, I was just trying to understand, sometimes it can happen because somebody was put in jail, and so it's about territory and things like that.
Correct.
So I just wanted to understand, without revealing too much of, again, that I'm sure sensitive intelligence, but just want to understand, what is happening and make sure that, you guys are tracking it and trying to understand it as well and prevent it wherever possible. And that's all. So just keep us posted. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah, is there any other comments or concerns? Not, I do, I know Chief, I know we've talked about some of this stuff, and I know that some of this, it can be alarming, but it also seems, and then correct me if I'm wrong, but I think a lot of this stuff is also regional. Chief has been, I don't know if many of you are aware, but the Mayor La Puente, Mayor Clanac has made an effort to have chiefs work together and kind of get information. So I don't know if maybe Chief Lopez kind of wants to talk about that process a little bit, and what we've kind of seen, that some of this stuff is a regional issue and not just pinpointed in Baldwin Park, correct?
Correct. And, and being part of I forget the name of the group, our group, but, the chiefs and captains from Temple City, San Dimas, and I believe La Puente are involved in exchanging information and collaborating relative to gang activity that surrounds our agencies. So there are other agencies involved with the information sharing. Our gang officers have always had a good relationship without the surrounding agencies, and at times some of the individuals that we're looking for or looking at are actually going outside of the area here to do things. So there's a lot of information going back and forth relative to crime and to the activity, so that we can track it as well and make sure that it's not impacting the Baldwin Park community. And that's one of the main goals, is making sure that we're on top of the crime patterns that may be involved, and then we're looking at the appropriate individuals responsible for that, and making sure that our partners also are aware of it, so that we're making a concerted effort in making sure that all of our communities are safe. But in particular, for me, is our community in Baldwin Park.
Great, thank you. I just wanted everybody to know that there's always efforts going on, and I know Chief has been, working with other chiefs as well. So I thank you for that. I don't know if any other council members have any questions or concerns. If not, I think that'll end that presentation.
Thank you, sir.
Chief.
Thank you.
I believe at this point we can recess to closed session.